I had the pleasure of speaking with Caroline Palmy from Palmy Coaching the other day with regards to the original wound and healing from emotional abuse. And I steer away from using narcissism and sociopath and psychopath because it's really hard for them to take responsibility for the damage they've done, so they're certainly not going to go and get a diagnosis. So emotional abuse seems to cover all aspects. It's the deep pain, and my interest is where it comes from. By accepting this type of behaviour in a relationship, and we've got children around us, we're showing them, we're the examples, so they believe that's normal behaviour and they go on to repeat the patterns. From birth to the age of around 7 or 8, we are learning, we're sponges, we're taking on everything. If we watch the relationships around us with either parents being abused in some way, whether that's physical or emotional abuse, if you've experienced it and you've watched it, this is already in your belief system. So Caroline and I were having a cup of tea together and just discussing the original wound and healing. And
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm a heart flow healer and the author. I really, really love to bring the love back to people who feel lonely or very sensitive, come back to themselves and allow themselves to feel the love.
oh, thank you, Caroline. I'm doing a lot of work on emotional abuse because it was something that I came across a few years ago and I had no idea. But when I first discovered it, it was about the narcissist. I've discovered this term, the narcissist, and I was in a place that I needed to know answers. I was in this place of confusion, which I now understand. It's that place, it's like cognitive dissonance, where you've been told something to be true, and then you're told, or you think something's true, and then you're given an explanation and it just doesn't match up. It makes you feel like you're going crazy. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, absolutely. You know, when I came out of the marriage and then weeks later, months later, someone said, "You've been emotionally abused." I thought, "No, no way, no way," you know. And then I was reading up, you know, I got all the books on emotional abuse. And, oh, yes, oh, yes. And I thought, oh, this is not normal behavior. For me, it was so normal to be talked down, to be ridiculed in front of friends, to be, you know, I felt this little, I had zero self-worth. And of course I thought, yeah, yes, it's true. He's great. He knows, and I'm not good enough. I think that's all that he was feeding just into my I am not good enough wound. And it is a really eye-opener when you read up about emotional abuse. You all of a sudden you think like, oh, it can be different. This is not normal. It's a weird feeling. I don't know, how was it for you? For me, it was sort of like, oh wow, I let this happen.
I remember, I don't know whether you've seen this, but I saw Dirty John on Netflix, and okay, it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It follows the story of a woman and her 2 daughters in their 20s, and she's also has a son as well. And it follows this story of how she was looking for love and she got into this relationship. What I really liked about it was they also unpicked it from the other side. So you could see how she was being targeted and abused. You could see this as it was unfolding. And she hires a detective, and she gets in the car and she says, "I don't know," she said, "I just feel so stupid." And I think that was a big part for me. I feel so stupid. How could I have let this happen? And, you know, how did I not know this was going on?
Mhm. Yeah, that's, yeah. Feeling stupid, feeling, I think I also had that helplessness, you know, sort of like, what could I have done in that moment, you know? What would have changed it or something? It's all these big, big question marks, sort of like, oh, wow, okay.
The whole thing for me around emotional abuse is an area that I've always worked in, which is understanding why we behave and do the things we do, and going back and undoing it. So finding out where the original wound, and this is what I've called this series, the original wound, finding out where we were damaged or what happened to us, whether it was an abandonment or whether it was a shame or guilt wound that we have, and helping people unpick it and heal and actually reparent themselves in a really short space of time. So that's what I love doing. And it's just when I got to this point and I realized that there was more to what I was doing, and my interest in this emotional abuse and why we where it comes from.
For me, it was just that wanting to feel loved, wanting to have someone who loves me. That was my trigger. I realized recently that I only ever felt loved when I was in a relationship. So I wanted to stay in there to feel loved. I needed someone to feed me that love. And because I couldn't, when I'm single, then I'm not loved. No one loves me. It's obvious, you know, you don't have a partner. Love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want the outside approval. So if someone then comes, a partner says, oh, I love you, feels, oh gosh, yes, I am lovable. Finally someone sees I am lovable. But of course that's not going to work when you're always needy of that love from the outside. And for me, it's also part of being a people pleaser, trying to make others happy. So, it started probably with my parents. I desperately wanted to make my father happy, who was also a very sensitive soul and not happy in his place back then. And so trying to find that love, and then trying to find that love from partners and making them happy, and probably also the healer part in me, you know, trying to make people happy. And of course, maybe shying away from conflict also, you know, having that peace, trying to make others happy so they are not angry, or maybe fear of taking the love away, or all these kind of things, you know, were playing with me.
For me, it's about understanding, you know, where this stems from, so that we can pick all the pieces up and understand what's happened, that then we can move on. These weren't just normal relationships.
It was easy for me because back then my then husband left. So he took the step out. And it wasn't easy in a way, because there were always these intrigues, there was always this bullying, there was always this undercurrent, you know, sort of against me afterwards. And also beforehand, he played it out really well and was lying and cheating, and then you're to blame. You're not good enough. You didn't this. You know, it was all, it was sort of, and of course I took on the blame till I first of all, you know what? Let's put that ball back into his ballpark, you know, that's his thing. But it took me months to come to that realization.
And it's that pain. Can you describe that pain?
The pain, I can describe. Whenever I got an email from him, I was really like, ugh! I was so afraid, and I was so worried what is coming, and I felt it. I mean, I still feel it. It's still a complete shock, like a shutdown to the whole system. It's this tingling, warm, like a sick feeling coming up whenever I saw he wrote me an email or when I saw a text, and just that it's sort of like I would get hit on my head out of nowhere, and I was sort of like going like this, and the pain of really, I don't know, it's so exhausting. It's sort of like dragging on, really having to step up, or feeling like we have to really prove ourselves to them, which we never can, you know. But it's this hurt of being alone, all alone out there, you know. And yeah, I don't know how it was for you when
I can't. The reason I talk about that is because people who've never experienced that type of relationship cannot relate and understand why it takes so long to recover from it. I can't put words to it. I can see you trying to
I think
come up with a word, and there isn't. It's total confusion, and then moments of clarity, and then where you've been told it's all your fault, then it comes back in, and you are beating yourself up. You are saying to yourself, you know, what a bad person you are. If only is a lot in that first period. If only I'd done this, if only I hadn't done this, maybe if I hadn't, you know, those scenarios play out quite a lot, and trying to recreate that relationship to the point where you were at the beginning when you were loved, or you thought you were loved. So I can't describe. It's just sheer pain.
And for me, I see it like, because when you're in that relationship, it's sort of like eroding away your self-worth, your self-esteem, and also it sort of puts blinders on your realities. You get a new sense of what's right or wrong in a way, you know, also because they just erode, you know, and it's like, and when you come out, there's nothing left of you. I remember I felt so completely lost. I had no idea where I was anymore. So I had to build myself up again. And then, of course, you get an email or something, and then goes down again. And it's that constant, you know.
But it's knowing that, and this is part of the healing, that email that might have taken you a month to get over is now taking you an hour.
And we learn, I think, because these unhealthy relationships, it always needs the two sides, but this is sort of like a really, really strong pull.
Yeah.
So I think when it splits up, it's so much harder to sort of get back to normal, because you still have that sort of pull, or that, let's call it poison, you know, sweeping in and out. So.
Yeah, it's as if they intuitively match up with something that you're missing, and it's as if they know what that is, and they are able to play on that weakness within you. And
they absolutely are. They know the buttons to push. They get that clarity, and then, like predators, you know, they step on those buttons, and that's also part of healing, releasing those buttons, so they can't step and no one else can step on them. So it's not like trigger points anymore for us. And
this is why I see this as a gift. So this is the fact that we can, once we've got over the pain or the shock or whatever it is, or working through it, we can take that wound, which is, to me, is the original wound that they were attracted to, and allows us, it's as if we've been given a chance to go back and on a level that we would never experience, you know, would never have been able to experience. So I actually see it as something really quite amazing.
And sometimes it's so hard for outsiders. They sometimes see it clearly. And I have so many friends or clients who say, my friend is in an unhealthy relation. How can I get her out? I say, so it's not for you to take her out. She has to take that step.
Yeah.
It might be obvious for us, but she's so in it, she doesn't see it. And if the more people try to pull people out to safety, the more they pull back, and it's hard. I said, so you just give them space, allow them to be, maybe ask them questions or how they feel, but don't tell them what to do. You know, what would happen if someone told you, get out now?
Yeah. I think that's really important. I think the most important thing is allowing people, one is not judging, and allowing people, making sure they know that you're there to talk. What was your healing journey? Can you describe that?
Oh, my healing journey was, first of all, really releasing that relationship over and over and over again. Sort of, I then used a special method. I always, every evening, I cut the cords. I send everything that's not part of me energetically back to everyone. I called back my parts to me, because I think energetically, when we always think about the ex-partner, and sometimes we feel those hooks, those poisons flowing in. So it's really important to clear that out of the system, send it back, maybe even shield yourself. There were times when I felt so harsh energy coming that I just put like a mirror. I was in a ball of outside mirrors, protecting myself so nothing could come through, because I really felt that anger, poison coming towards me. And the more I could stay in my place, the better I could reconnect, learn about me, and stand in my own truth, so that whenever I met him or got the mail, it got easier and easier and easier, because I found a new sense of who I am. Because I think we lose ourselves in those relationships.
I think that's quite a big one, actually, because you give over so much of yourself and put so much on hold, dreams or, you know, things that you like doing. I always remember one of my children saying, how is it you do everything he wants? He's, you know, you go out to the places he wants to go to, or his events, and yet as soon as you've got a party or something like that, he won't go. And I was like, wow, I'd never seen it. I hadn't seen it.
Exactly. We have blinders on. We are sort of like, I don't know, it's normal. And I think as a couple, it's okay to compromise and do things together, but seeing or being told so clearly, it's like,
if there's somebody sitting watching this now, what would the first thing you'd say to do?
First of all, compassion, compassion, compassion. And I congratulate you. You're already far ahead. You know now so much what was going on. Realizing that you've been in an emotional, abusive relationship is the very first, very big step. Now you can walk your path. Do a little exercise every day. Just put your hands on your heart. Breathe into your belly. Release. And then ask yourself, what would I love to do now? don't despair if the answers are not just coming, but just let the answers flow. Maybe you hear the answer, maybe you know, maybe you see a picture, or maybe you get a sense of what it is, you know. Take another deep step and releasing. This is a gorgeous exercise coming back to yourself because you lost yourself, the sense of what you want. You were so focused on your partner, what's good for him, what you wanted to do for him, when the dinner had to be ready, what you had to cook. Now it's your time and you can do the things you love to do. And remember, you only need to take one tiny step at a time. And keep going, tiny step by time. Of course, you see a big mountain ahead, but as you keep going, the mountain gets smaller and smaller and smaller. You are on your way. I congratulate you. And you are such a gorgeous soul. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. I think I would say there would be two things. One would be, they're all connected, but it would be actually write the story out in a notebook, because there are those times where you believe what you've been told. So you believe you're that bad person. You believe that you haven't done. So you can go back in those moments of complete despair, that when we fall down that rabbit hole, and that helps to remind you and bring you back. One other thing is, because you've been researching and looking for the answers, you have come across articles or something written in a book or a YouTube thing, and you've gone, oh my God, that was that person, and this sums him or her up, because it's not just men. But you've seen this article, or you've read a chapter or something in a book, and keep going back to that. In those times, you can go back and reread and this is the deprogramming, or from what you believe, what you've been told that you are. So I think those are it's the personal care, the self-care. Where it's really difficult is you've been told you're not worthy, so your self-love, you have none. You don't feel that you should be doing this because you don't feel worthy to do this. So it's trying to, boost that self-esteem up. And as you said, it's
step by step, exactly.
Step by step, yeah, little tiny things. So, oh, that's wonderful, Caroline. Thank you. So, as I said, this is all about finding the original wound, and for me, it's about finding it and being able to heal it and helping people move on. Describe your book.
The first one is actually Conversations with Me.
Yeah.
And it's really my stories, how I reconnected back to myself after my marriage broke apart, while going through a divorce, needing to learn to step up and be bolder and finding myself. So these are my stories, and it's an easy to read book because it's 30 chapters, but they're sort of independent, with lovely guidance at the end, little exercises you can implement, something that helps you boost. I think even salt bath is one of because it's just gorgeous, is amazing. And the next book is Loving Conversations with Me. Release day is May 6th. And it's all about love, the places we're looking for love, and what we do in the name of love. What is love? Is love self-care, or, all these kind of questions we have.
Yeah.
Another story sharing. So.
Oh, amazing. It is really, I think that's the first important thing is reconnecting. But thank you so much. Lots of love as always.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here, and thank you everybody for listening.
Oh, thank you.